Go fish in the very back of creeks.
All right, when he sits back down, I'll do an intro, and then I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. It's almost like I know what I'm doing. It's like I'm a pro. All right, I'm going to roll us in from there, and I'll cut out everything before, because we were BSing and saying stuff that...
Oh, that'd be bad if you, fucked up. Dude, it'd be super bad if you fucked up and put that out.
No, we're going to
put that out there, dude.
It'd fuck around and go viral.
Nothing before this is going on YouTube. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Stephen Billington. This is the Penguin Outdoors Podcast. It's also a video podcast, our first one on the Penguin Outdoors YouTube channel. And I'm joined by my two buddies, Trey and Christian. So we'll let them introduce themselves. We'll start with Trey.
My name's Trey. Dawson, Columbia, Missouri.
Well, that was easy. All right, Christian. He kept it short and sweet.
I didn't know what to do. I was like waiting for him to just set the tone there.
What do I do with my hands?
I don't know what to do with my hands. No, I'm Christian Blaine. I'm from Hannibal. I live a little bit a ways away from Stephen, so yeah.
And Trey lives a lot of ways away from us.
The Christian Blaine. You guys need to write that name down and remember it. I'm telling you right now.
That's insane, Blaine. We got to get him a YouTube channel soon too. Like we know Trey's gonna have.
Yeah, I know. I need to pick up a GoPro and do something with myself besides just go fish.
I could have got you a really good deal on a
Well,
GoPro.
you even fishes for fun now, right? You got to film yourself or it didn't happen.
That's right. If you're not filming it, nothing happened. If you don't have the film to go with the photo of you holding the fish, it didn't happen. You're like, look at this 4-pounder, and they're like, that's a 1-pounder. Where's the video?
It would have been funny if I had like a chassis on and I fell in Truman.
Oh my god, I wish I would have put a GoPro on you
like,
that day.
Wouldn't that have been great? Yeah, wouldn't that have been great? Like even like just like a side view camera like off the back of my kayak when I fell in at Truman, dude. That would have been hilarious. People would love that.
During the pre-fish, when you broke down and I turned around, all of a sudden you just weren't behind me because I wasn't paying attention. I should have known then to put a GoPro on you for game day. I had no idea what was going to happen.
If I had a camera when I had a mental breakdown when I dropped my vape in the water 10 minutes before lines in at Truman, just thinking that my entire day was ruined and how much I'm a slave to this juice box binky. And then I had some little patches back there, some zincs or something that got me through the day. But man, that was rough.
I didn't know you were at you.
Yeah.
Or when I dropped that 736 glass, picking out my net at LOZ. Dude, that was heartbreaking. And the kicker was I lost the fish.
I forgot it. Well, see, now, I may have flipped my Hobie, but I caught that fish.
My sister even said, I know the walrus. I'm like, who's the walrus? He's like a guy you call and you tell him where he's at. I said, I don't even know where it's at. I was so freaked out and I lost that rod and I have no idea. I don't know why it's at. Like 15 people messaged me and said, you should have put on something and drug for it. I'm like, dude, I'm in 20 feet of water in midday. I still ain't even got a limit. I can't sit there and try to find this rod. It's done.
Listen, I can't find my rods in 5 feet of water at Infection Lake. You weren't going to find yours there.
I can't even grab my one there in the back of the kayak, let alone 20 feet down.
I was thinking about it yesterday when I was out for the first time with those FX rods. I'm like, I never use rod tethers in the crate. I'm about to. I don't want those at the bottom of a lake if I flip over again.
I'm telling you, if you want, like, I've got those really ugly orange ones, but they work because you just clip it on to something, and then they just got, like, the Velcro, and I just Velcro it around it, and I can pull it all the way up to me, and then unstrap it, and then just, they're super ugly. They're ugly as hell. But I've never lost a rod ever. Ever.
My black pack
because
they're just not on there.
Right.
And if they would have been that day at Infection Lake, I'd still have those two rods. I'm more mad about the fact that I've got two Abu Garcia reels sitting at the bottom of that lake.
Yeah, that sucks.
I can tell by Trey's face he wants to start in with me about the Abu Garcia reels.
They're staple, man. They've been around forever.
Love them things. Abu Garcia reels and Berkeley lures, man. I'm a Berkeley whore.
But
And I think that's what's cool about this, and the trio we got here is we're all a little bit different, right? We're not all the same gear. Right?
Our styles are a lot different. I wouldn't even say
right.
that. And I'm the 100%. Furthest down left field by far.
100%. Yeah. No,
right,
no, we're not denying that, buddy.
We got to talk about the fact that Trey was on the Driftwood Outdoors podcast, because I'm more than a little jealous. I'm not gonna lie. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, dope.
What was that like, Trey?
I mean, it's still kind of really surreal, for real. I met Shags at a Whitetails Unlimited conference a few years ago. I think my first one. Mike Martin, who does that for a local club here in Columbia, that gives people with disabilities a chance to go out and hunt. So I really kind of wanted to be a part of. I really wanted to be a part of that. So I said, hey, what can I do? And it was my first year really meeting him. I'd always kind of listen to him on the radio going home, going to work in the morning, and dude's just super funny. And just being able to meet him, and then following him on the radio station in the morning. And the next year I had met him and his wife, and they're really into dogs, and kind of knew about Backyard Canine, and one thing led to another, and they contacted me a few weeks ago and said, hey, Trey, we'd love to have you on just to kind of talk about recovery and fishing and kind of what you're doing with Recovery Outdoors.
See, I didn't even know that Shags was the radio DJ until recently.
The
first time I even heard about him, they were on Meat Eater talking about one of them. It might have even been Shags. I can't remember which one it was. Somebody torched their cabin, their deer cabin. And it was like this crazy story. And so I started listening to their podcast, and I did not even know that dude was a radio DJ until I started following them on Facebook. And then they would start, they share like Shags is, he puts up those questions like, what's the best like Thanksgiving side or whatever. And I get suckered in. I comment on all of them. But so you knew those guys for years. I didn't even know they existed until like a year ago or something like that.
And their radio station is really, their talk show in the morning is off the wall, right? And even following them on Facebook, some of this stuff, and it's man, them guys have a heart of gold, and it was just really cool to see that side, and so it was cool all the way around. And then Brandon, I mean, the whole group of them are just super talented, and they're passionate, and you can tell that they're really, really genuine, and they just allowed the conversation to flow just super organically. I got into a lot of stuff last night, a lot of stuff I haven't really shared, and stuff that I'm still kind of praying about. And I tell everybody I'm kind of an open book and kind of really transparent in my story, because I think that's important for not only me to get that out, but also for other people that may be dealing with that kind of stuff to be able to hear that. So, but last night, I just puked it all up, and I'm excited to have people hear about that. And I think it's going to be out the first week of January. So
January 2nd.
Yeah. So.
Well, and I thought about it a lot last night because I knew you were on their podcast, and you had been on one the week before. And I thought about it a lot today. And so for those people at home that don't know, Trey has an incredible story. And I told him earlier this summer, I'm like, when I start a podcast, we need to talk about it because it's a great story. But then I sat back and reflected on it because Trey's told his story on 2 different shows in the last week. We are purposely not going to go anywhere near it now, mostly just because I want to listen to the Driftwood one and listen to the other one, and then like really sit with it and think about how I want to approach it, because that story can't be told enough. And the versions, like extended versions we get of that story, the better, because it really is. It helps a lot of people. Trey does a lot of great stuff.
I appreciate that.
I'm excited for that one to come out.
And I think sometimes we can, I get some pretty good mentors in my life, and, glory to God. And it's a season right now in my life that is really good, and it's about them times in them good seasons being able to prepare for the seasons that might not be so good. So praise God on that.
You and Trey, you and Christian are like the much more godly people. I'm godly, but I'm a heathen. And
it balances it out. I am too.
Trey's like, Trey could go like sit down with anybody, pray, sit around the table, talk about God. I sit down and people are like, like my family. What was that? One of my nephew's birthday a couple weeks ago. We're like, get ready to eat, and I'm starving, and they are like dragging it out. And so finally, everybody's like, let's pray, and they're all holding hands. And I'm like 15 feet away from the table. I didn't want to stand near the table anyway. And they're all staring at me like with two hands out. I'm like, listen, y'all can get to praying or I can get to eating. Like, it's one of the two. Like, I'll sit here and listen, but like, I'm not walking over there and hold your hand. Like, come on, I love God too, but I'm starving. God wants me to eat.
Amen.
Man.
All right, Christian, what do you think? I think Trey's got to tell us about his new kayak.
Yeah. I'm in for that. You ain't got to get too crazy if you don't want to. But
No, I want to know everything. I want to know what model of live scope it is and everything. Because
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm going to be following you around this season since you can live scope for me. So it's important that I know the specs.
I don't even know how to live scope. I had the chance last weekend to go out with Stony Floyd. Dude is just incredible dude from Kansas. Fishes the All-American Series, and he came down, dude. And that dude was a ton of help and was able to kind of just show me the basics. And there's so much to it. I even struggled with just reading my regular graph when I had my Jackson, and I was just running I think it was a 73 SV. I knew the water temperature and the depth, and I could see brush piles and stuff like that. But to tell you that I could actually make these direct casts towards them, I'm not that. I found myself most of the time just looking at it as a big clock, right, and a water temperature thing. So I honestly don't know
it either.
I don't know how much I'm actually going to use it. I know hopefully when I get up north and be able to fish some really deep clear lakes, La Crosse and maybe Minocqua and stuff like that, where that forward-facing sonar is really going to play. But I mean, I love beating the bank too. So
yeah, I wanted so I started out the year like people who use live scope just can't fish, or I like with that mentality of if they have live scope, I want to beat them without it. And then watching Kristen Fisher and stuff, I started to see more of a reason why they use it. And in fishing competitively, I learned real quick, like, they're eliminating dead water. So then I switched over to, I have to have live scope because I have to eliminate dead water. But then I was like, I'm going to have another kayak I'm going to have to outfit. There's some different stuff I want to do. I'm like, man, that money could go so many other places. And I realized, listening to Alex Rudd, because he never had live scope till he got his new boat, his dad's boat.
His dad's boat, yeah.
Yeah, he keeps talking about the learning curve with it, and I'm like, I got enough I'm trying to learn. Like, I was never a bass fisherman. I don't think live scope, I don't think it's the time for me, but I'm excited that you have it, because then when I finally do get it, you'll be able to teach me some stuff.
Right. Hopefully. But yeah, Jack, I had the opportunity, a really big part of Modiak Club, and a guy that's just got a heart of gold, Jay the Shaker Harmon, put his kayak up for sale a few months ago, and it was a really good deal. And I didn't know which way I wanted to go. And usually I'm pretty impulsive, and I knew that middle of the year that I wanted to get a different kayak. The Cusco was a really good kayak. It was stable. I could get in skinny water. I was able to just kind of. Yeah, it was light, and I could stand up in it, and I had the NK 180 on the back, which was just an incredible motor, because I would just grind it in stuff, right? I mean, I would grind it in stuff. I mean, I would just close my eyes and just hit the throttle, and I'd get out of something. I probably shouldn't have done that, but I had found that I wasn't able to really set up on points that I wanted to, and I spent a lot more time with my hand on my lever because I didn't have it on foot controlled, and I found myself just really using my pedals a lot, and not being able to. If I was going to stand up, I wasn't able to use my pedals, or if I was sitting down, I had to use my lever from that Percy company, which makes a great lever. But so I knew that I wanted to get something that I could stand up in, and I wanted to get something that was stable and yet be able to spot lock me into a position. And I thought, and I want everybody to know, this is all new to me. This is my first year of really fishing out of a kayak. I have kind of bass fishing, just fished my entire life. There was, and people who hears my story know that my life was just full of, a lot of incarceration and addiction and stuff like that. But fishing's always been a part since I've been a kid, and that kind of nostalgia. And, I think it's some fundamentals that you learn as a child really never leaves. You kind of just have that passion to do it. So I knew that I knew that I didn't know that. I thought that, so if you have a bank that's got the wind blowing into it, I thought that I'd be able to get this kayak, this Old Town Autopilot, it's a 136.
Oh, I know exactly
And I
what he's gonna
thought
say.
I thought you could like point it towards the bank and hit the spot lock, and like the front of your boat's gonna like stay positioned towards the bank that's getting blown to the wind. No, it doesn't matter if you got spot lock or not. That boat is gonna flip around. You're just gonna stay in that spot, which is cool. But I had this different mind. I thought it was gonna do something totally different.
We all did.
First time I went out and realized that it will always nose me into the current, I was like, what? And then I thought if you got that white hockey puck, I forget what Lawrence calls it, but that white hockey puck.
I do have that. Yeah, that I have that Garmin. That I forget what it's called. It's an enhancer for the. Yeah.
I thought that thing was purposely so you could put it on the front of your boat, and then it would spot lock you whatever direction you point. And I almost dropped the money on it. And then Mark English was like, no, you don't want this thing. It doesn't do that, because he has it. He's like, it's pointless. You don't need it. But I thought the same thing.
Okay, so sorry to interrupt here, but for somebody that is not in the know, what is that?
I don't know what it does.
I've seen it. I don't know what it is.
The white puck up front?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's on my boat. If someone out there that's listening to this can tell us a little bit more. Now, listen, Stoney did tell me that it's for like, so you have this button on the Old Town, on the remote that's it says in on it, but it's for, so say if you're just cruising a bank and you're going in a straight direction. What this does is it allows the satellite to pick up on your boat better, to where you're able to actually stay in a line of that you're fishing. So it keeps you tracking better in a way.
So it
keeps you tracking better.
It lets you follow the bank without hitting the bank. Like
I think so, unless I'm totally wrong and somebody's out there like, dude, that dude has no idea what he's talking about, and that wouldn't be the first time, but I think that's right.
I think it's this button on ours.
The header lock?
I can't remember what. The header lock, yeah. I think that's what it is. Like you can, like this, so the motor guide XI3 has 20 speeds. You can hit that button 20 times. So I'll put it up on like 3, and I'll hit that header lock, like for the same thing that you just described. Like I'm just running a bank, I'm sitting off and whatever, 15 or 20 feet, I'm just throwing up and I'm flipping and stuff or whatever. And that'll just cruise me along real slow. I don't remember exactly how fast it is, but
I've literally
just enough when I'm still moving. Really? That's what I do when I'm standing up. Yeah, dude.
I also didn't know there were 20 speeds, because I was just...
Yeah.
I know, that's what I just said. That's a lot of speeds.
That's one of my favorite things to do at Infection Lake.
Yeah.
Is hit that button, because there's so much shallow timber and stuff that you can flip. And so I'll hit that, I'll run that, and just stand up, and then if I have to adjust, you can just hit your button and move it however you want.
I'm gonna have to play with
that header lock next time. Just flip all day long. And,
I've been thinking about putting a foot pedal in the Hobie, just because I stand so much. I thought about putting the foot control, because like Trey was saying,
wireless.
Trey was saying like when he had the Kusa, like he couldn't stand and use the pedal. I taught myself how to use my Hobie drive one-footed like 2 years ago. So I'd stand with 1 foot behind me. Christian see me.
I remember that.
And I would flap the fins with the other one.
Yeah.
I would just re-bend a little bit, turn the steering wheel now and then, or stick the fishing rod in the water.
Yeah.
I definitely prefer the trolling motor. I also didn't know this was your first year in a kayak.
I didn't either.
Me?
That's wild, yeah.
Yeah. I had bought it, so I bought it from Jess. Everybody knows Jess from Camo.
Yeah.
And, kind of, it was my first one. I had it in my living room for probably 6 months. I was afraid to take it out. I wasn't good. I was kind of afraid to take it out in a way. I remember my first USA Bassin tournament. I believe it was on Truman. And I kind of pigeonholed myself into this one cove, because I was scared. I'm saying bored scared. I was just uncomfortable. I wasn't confident in it. It is, man. It was intimidating. And then after a few times, and then I just started taking it out. And I think that's true when people say it's about time on the water. And Lake of the Ozarks and Table Rock, that really kind of opened me up crossing the main lake channels. And now I'm really confident. But yeah, Jay Harmon, who's just a phenomenal dude. He had the kayak for sale, and it just seemed like the right time. And I'm usually really impulsive, and I was going to buy one earlier in the fall and really didn't know which way to go. And again, I think God put me right where I needed to be with that kayak for real. And
Yep.
yeah. So
Yeah,
Jay's an incredible guy.
You did kill
For
it
that
for your
situation,
first year. And
yeah, you did.
Christian's only, this is what, your third year, I think?
Technically it's like 2.5. It's my first year. This is my first year actually being like serious. Because like that first year, I got that little 10-foot over here, that little 10-foot lifetime, and we went out on our favorite lake, and I was just pretty much fishing. Like I caught like some crappie on like a little micro spinner bait, and then like the next year, like I immediately was like, dude, I need a bigger one. And so I got the kayak, and then now, because of just the potential it had, not really thinking about anything, remotely related to like fish finder, motor, or anything like that. I just wanted something bigger. And I would kind of fish for bass a little bit, but then I'd end up just reverting back to crappie or whatever because I knew I could catch crappie there, like nonstop, and I knew where to find them. And I would just give up on bass after a couple hours because all I would do is just throw a square bill everywhere. And if I didn't catch a few for a while, I would just start throwing a crappie jig or whatever. So I mean, in a kayak, yeah, it's like the 2.5 years now, but like legitimately bass fishing, I could probably say I've only collectively been like this year and then maybe like half the time last year. So
yeah, Christian's kayak fishing addiction is all my fault. As we were sitting in the church one day, I was showing him the Outback, and
dude.
He walked away after we were talking for a little bit. He walked away to do something, and his wife looked at me, and she's like, "This is going to be all your fault." And it is. But the tournament fishing is his fault.
Yeah.
Why do some people say tournament and some people say tournament? Like you just did?
My girlfriend will not let up on this.
It's because he's not from around here. He ain't from these parts like you and me are, brother.
I'm originally from New Jersey, and I don't have the accent anymore. It took me a long time to break it. I used to say things like wooter.
We broke him.
And coffee. But so...
Like wooter for water?
Yeah, that's what they say in Jersey, man. It's
like water?
Wooter.
Yeah, because I've heard Rich say that like that before. He said water. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Or if you're looking for your car keys, someone hands you a pair of pants. You're like, "Where's my khakis?
Where's my khakis?"
No, that's Boston.
The snot pack.
But like, I did every time I say tournament, she doesn't do it as much now. Probably because it's not the summer and I'm not saying it all the time. But I would say tournament, and she would get anybody in earshot. She's like, "Listen to him say it," and I'm like, she'd make me enunciate it, and I would still get it wrong. It drives her crazy.
That's funny, dude.
Yeah, but so we're gonna do. Let's see. I want to look at my list here. I'm not organized enough to remember it all. Who wants to do overrated, underrated? Because I do.
Sounds fun.
I got good ones here. All right.
Me.
So you guys both already know how overrated, underrated works. But if you're listening at home, we take a topic. I got this from Alex Rudd, and he got it from somebody before him, so I don't feel bad taking it from Alex.
Ooh, I can't remember the guy's name. I used to know.
We don't want no beef, Alex. We don't want no beef.
Gary B. Is that a Gary B or?
Gary B sounds right. I'm pretty sure that Alex Rudd could kill me with one punch. So yeah, no, we don't want.
He's actually a big dude. Have you ever seen how big he actually is? Yeah.
Why he's fishing at the same time?
Yeah, like I'm a little jealous that Trey was on Driftwood because I love those guys. But if he would have been on the Alex Rudd podcast, I may have cried if he had taken me with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so the way overrated, underrated works is we take a topic and we each decide, is it overrated, underrated, or adequately rated? And I put some interesting ones on the list. One of these is in here specifically for Trey. So, overrated, underrated, swim baits. Who wants Question, okay.
One question. I know that some people kind of muck all of the swim bait, glide bait, everything together.
You're right, I should rephrase. Glide
I just want to clarify.
Like
glide bait.
Glide baits.
Ooh, you got that chance in there, boy.
Yeah, Lady Angler, man, did that for me. Mel Isaac,
Nice.
How do
she
you
did
just
that.
have
So
one sitting there? You're just
I
surrounded
just
by
got it
tackle.
You just got
it
the
was
pro
cool as that
catch just
JDM
chilling
Black
there, dude.
170. Do you really want to start to do this right now?
For people that are listening on the podcast version, Trey is just pulling out a ton of baits and showing them to the camera.
Bro, this guy's
Dude is
chilling
surrounded
on
by
his
tackle.
desk. He
Surrounded
is
by
surrounded. His
tackle.
entire house.
It's all tackle.
You
So,
can build a home for Trey out of tackle boxes.
You're telling me this ain't like
cardboard
video
plastic.
live, so I didn't have to wear this really hot hoodie and sit. I could have been here naked.
I kept telling you,
Yeah, dude.
it's not streamed, but there will be a video version on YouTube.
There's gonna be
So let me see that one Mel made again.
the Chad.
The Chad.
That girl has so much talent.
She got a lot of talent, bro. And she's got a heart of gold. That lady is.
She's so cool.
That is one person.
And her
I've
sons,
never met.
man. That lady just comes from a fishing family, dude. She, and her son, a good friend of mine, dude, just has some amazing tracking dogs. Just a solid family, man. I'm so blessed to be able to meet them.
Yeah, I've never actually met Mel in person. We talk on Facebook and I see her posts and stuff.
Yeah, she's a boss.
I've never met her.
All right, so glide baits. Overrated or underrated? Who wants to go first? I'm not going first.
Go ahead, Trey. Do your thing, buddy.
I've never caught a fish on a glide bait. But there's a reason for that. I've never thrown a glide bait. This is full transparency here, and I think that's what I like, man. I love the idea of it. I have it up there, right? And I was gonna throw it the Big Bass 250, and I was like, yeah, that's the one I was gonna use. Yeah. I don't feel like I had the rod right for it, and I think that they catch fish, and as Milliken and all these guys showed us that these things can just hammer some big fish. Absolutely. Are they overrated or underrated? I think they're right there in the middle. I think they're used and are productive when they need to be productive. And I think that there's a cult following for them. So I think they're cool, man. I think that it gives a lot of people that are into painting and stuff like that. And I think it serves a great purpose, for real.
See, for me, I think the cult following makes them overrated. I've never thrown one. And the reason I haven't thrown one is I don't want to spend that much money to hit a snag and lose one. I have 3.
Oh, I'm definitely swimming after it.
I have 3 glide baits. And the reason I have 3 glide baits is because I've caught all 3 of them while fishing other people, like catching them, like they're lost in the water. Like I went to one over near the Battle of Brookfield that I was practicing on, and I caught little like 4-inch glide bait because I got tangled up in somebody else's line. But I've never actually thrown one because it's like with the balsa crankbaits, like the legit really good balsa crankbaits or the really great JDM baits. They're expensive, and I spend enough on my slobber knockers. Like I don't want to lose a $60 or $700 lure. So to me, they're overrated. But I haven't thrown one yet, so maybe I'm wrong. Christian,
man, just giving me all the leftovers here. I'm going to be with Trey here, full transparency. I've never thrown one in my life, so Steven, you're the only guy here I don't even own one. So, that being said, I'm going to also agree with Trey, because I was kind of there with the adequately rated right there, probably where it should be. He's kind of pretty much just taken everything that I was going to say and already said it. In my mind,
I think that's what's cool.
Every topic, I'm just going to go last and be like, oh, yeah, he just said the same thing that I was going to say.
Well, Trey go first on the next one.
I think that's cool. I think that's cool that all 3 of us has really said, because I would take a poll that if you were on some main podcast or anything like that, and I'm curious to thinking how many people are listening to this right now, and just by us saying that has maybe either turned them on or turned them off to what we're talking about, because we are just 3 guys, right, that are not saying that we're great at all, that are still have a lot of stuff to learn and haven't used everything. And this is a learning experience. And I love that aspect of it. And, and trying to learn from each other and learning from everybody out there that's listening to this. So I think that's what's cool.
I definitely pissed some people off when I said overrated. There's a lynching crew forming right now.
And then you said slobber knocker, and then you pissed off all the jackhammers.
Yeah, he said slobber knocker made it real bad. We were at like 60 people. Now it just went to like 3.
We're like 3, yeah.
It's us.
We lost them all. They're gone.
It didn't take me long to get into the slobber knockers. All right, so we'll call that one adequately rated. We'll let Christian go first on this one. I put this one in just for Trey. Hobie kayaks, overrated or underrated? Everybody choose their words carefully.
Okay. So, Trey, I don't know if you've used one or not. Have you used one before? Have you ever been in a Hobie? Okay. So I can only base. Well, I don't really know how to rate this. I'm just going to go forward with what I'm going to say first, and then we can get to. So the only Hobie I've ever been in, I've not been in Stevens, PA yet. But when I first started getting into it, I got to use the compass.
Outback.
Maybe like 3 times. Outback, sorry. See, I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about, dude. I don't. One of them, I got to use Stevens Hobie, maybe like 3 times or 4 times, and it was super, super nice. That being said, that's also the only pedal kayak I've ever used.
Oh,
so
that's
I
true.
can't really compare it to a bike drive compared to the fin drive. I think I'm going to say they're probably right where they need to be, just because I don't think they're overrated, because I think they have a place just like the prop drives do. I think it all depends on where you're fishing and like your style of fishing, because I think like with the Hobie, I don't know about prop drives. The prop drives, they may have something now where it comes up and, pulls up like the kick up fins do with the Hobies.
Yeah,
I don't know if they make that.
I think the NARC
they do.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna say, like, because I mean, if you're fishing a lot of more shallow stuff, or something where you got, rock or whatever, I don't know what people are nuts with Hobies. I mean, you see that on the ocean and everything like that too. So, but everything's got a purpose. So they've got their own niche, just like Old Town does, or Jackson does, or Native. You can't. Everybody forgets Native, but Native, they make a really nice kayak too.
They do.
And I mean, even like Perception, like they just made a pedal drive of my kayak, the Showdown, I think it's called, or something.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, I think they're adequately. I don't think they're overrated or underrated. They're definitely not underrated. But that being said, I don't think that they're the end all be all either.
All right,
because
Trey.
there's a lot of really nice pedal kayaks out there. So I can't just say Hobie's at the top. I refuse to believe that. Steven's not going to agree with it. Look at him, he's hurting. Oh, I'm hurting people's feelings. But me personally, I can't speak too much, just because I've only used one kind of Hobie, and that's the only pedal drive I've used. But personally, I think they're adequately rated. But again,
Christian says adequate. All right, Trey, let me have it.
I mean, and this is going to sound really cliche here. I've never been in a Hobie. I've seen them, and I know the people that have them are absolutely in love with them. But I think when it comes to overrating and underrating kayaks, I think that what kayak works for you is going to be the kayak that works for you. I know a guy, I was at some old Moyak events earlier the year, and there's a dude that is out of a Jackson bite that is just a freaking hammer, and this dude is a consistent hammer. And I think it's about what you have confidence in. I do love the memes, and I love the wars that goes on between Old Town and Hobie and all this, and how you see. I think that'll always kind of be there. But I think they're right where they're supposed to be, because I think for some people it gives them the confidence they need. And I think a kayak for me is hard to do, because I'm not trying to promote one kayak and saying this kayak is the best. I don't even know what kayak I don't even know if the Old Town Autopilot's going to be the kayak that I eventually settle on. And I think that's why, Danny Johnson, my buddy down at the lake, said that, you need to write a list of everything that you like about a kayak and everything you don't like about a kayak. And really, you're not going to know the kayak that you want until you kind of design a kayak that's meant for you.
And no kayak will ever meet all of it. Like, no kayak will ever give you everything that you want and eliminate the stuff that you hate. Like, there's always something.
Yep.
So, yeah, man, I think they're beautiful kayaks. I think they serve a purpose. I think without the motor, I think you can get and scoot with them things. And from what I hear and what I can just see by looking at them, they look super stable. So, I really don't have a lot on that one.
Every now and then, they're a little slippery when
Except when you flip them. Like, I know a dude that did that.
A little slippery when wet. All right, so you both say adequately rated. Hobie is underrated. Okay, and you all knew that would be my answer, but I can defend it, okay? So, like, Christian's points about, like, there's a lot of different kayak options and stuff. They're all trying to be Hobie. So, like, here's where I'm coming from. So, you guys are both newer to kayak.
Like, bro.
So, you guys haven't spent, like you both said, you haven't spent a ton of time in a lot of kayaks. I've been kayak fishing for longer than I want to say because I'm old. But, like, I've had everything from sun dolphins. I've had vibes. I have not had Bonafide yet. But like when I got into the Outback, it's just a game changer. So the thing is, like Trey said, you'll never find it, or you always want to make a list. What you hate about a kayak, what you like about a kayak. The Hobie, I feel like, is the only one that caters to everyone except the people that don't want to be in a Hobie because they don't want to be in a Hobie. Like, I've never seen somebody actually get in a Hobie and go fish it and say they don't like it. Like, so Alex Red had a Hobie, and I think he might actually be in a Hobie again. I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. But he had a Hobie, and he went to the NART, and the only reason he changed was he says that pedal drive, with the back and forth instead of it being like a bicycle, was hurting his hip. Like, it wasn't anything wrong with the kayak. It just wasn't the right fit for him anymore. But I'm going with underrated, but I think that would be the answer of anybody who has a Hobie. And I'm not blind to the fact that the Hobie people... Have you ever seen that Family Guy meme where three of them are sitting there in tuxes and Meg is like, you all guys always think you're always better than me. Hobie people do it. We try not to. Sometimes, Christian has seen this firsthand. Sometimes people are jerks to me on lakes, other kayak fishermen, just because I have a Hobie. Like, it is unreal. I always say having a Hobie did not make me a Hobie snob, but people have made me a Hobie snob. I'm saying it's underrated, but I'm biased, and adequately rated is probably the correct answer. It's just hard for me to swallow. Well, let's see. What do we have on here next? I'm going to mix my list up a little bit here. Overrated or underrated? Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh.
Trey's whole demeanor has changed.
Who's going first? Who's going first?
I'll go first if you want me to.
Oh, God. Trey. You want to go first or what?
The Kansas City Chiefs in 2023 are adequately rated. And here is why I would have said overrated a year ago. And the year before that, and I may say overrated next year. But right now, they're adequately rated because I am just living in a funnel of joy watching all of the fans and players get humbled by this season. Because after they got like almost to the Super Bowl, and then they won a Super Bowl, I was so sick and tired of hearing about this dynasty that they were supposedly building after such a short period of time. To watch Patrick Mahomes slam his helmet and cry and whine and throw a giant temper tantrum because of a great call. They're adequately rated. They've been humbled.
Great call.
I wish everybody was watching this on video so they could see.
Did he say great call?
I'm looking at Trey's reaction the whole time you're talking.
I was.
So I'm getting.
I love
Can I go?
Trey.
Can I go now?
Trey can go.
I want to see this. I want to hear this.
I've been a Chiefs fan ever since I can remember. I don't know if there's any other teams in the NFL. I don't know who you. I know they say that there are, but I don't know that there is. I think we've had a tough late season. I still think we're going to win the Super Bowl. I think it's been tough. I think it's a big transition. with some depth that we've needed, being able to hold on to the ball. There's been a lot of penalties that have just been on us. Yeah, and I think it's all kind of came to a head. But I've been a Chiefs fan when we weren't winning anything. I'm going to be right there with you. I think it's right there in the middle. Would I love to see us winning more and doing great? Yeah, but I kind of like it when we're struggling too, because you're not just on that hype all the time. And like I said, I've been a Chiefs fan since Christian Okoye and Derek Thomas and all these guys. So yeah, and my dog's a huge. He didn't hear it. Henry, plug your ears. My, what are you chewing on, bro?
Henry found.
I don't know where this came from. This is supposed to be in the kitchen, but it's in my dog's mouth.
Oh boy.
How's that for the best dog trainer in Columbia? It's like the mechanic that's always got a broken kid, or the dentist with his kids that's got crooked teeth. It doesn't work like that. But yeah, I mean, in the middle, I hope they do better. Yeah, I got a couple big games coming up. I know we play Denver again. They're pretty hot. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, Christian.
It's unanimous. I think they're adequately rated.
No, not unanimous. I did say adequately. Damn, I'm not used to that.
Yeah. Come on now.
I'm used to being harder on them.
I can't sit here and talk a bunch of crap because I'm a Green Bay fan. So I mean, we're on a rebuild season. We're probably going to be on a few rebuild seasons. I mean, I have no high expectations for my team at all. The Chiefs are a better team, and I won't deny that. Kind of like Trey said, sometimes you just got to go through those struggles to figure out what you got to fix to make those adjustments and keep pulling through. So
I can't say anything.
I'd say adequately rated.
I'm a Tampa Bay Bucks fan. I can't say anything. Todd Bowles has got to go.
Who?
Todd Bowles, the head coach.
No, what team did you say?
Tampa Bay.
Never heard of
the NFC South in its entirety is in the garbage can every single year.
Oh my God, yeah. The Tampa Bay Bucks official Facebook account shared a thing today. It was a scene from SpongeBob where they're trying to make the snails and stuff race, and it was a real picture of the NFC South. But somebody's got to win it. Go Tampa Bay.
Dude, isn't Atlanta? Atlanta's the number one seed in that, right? And they're 6 and 7 or something. Right. They're the number one seed, bro. They're the fourth seed in the NFC with a 6 and 7 record, and the Cowboys are not. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, I have no delusions that we'll make it to the playoffs. They did last year, but when they sucked, but they had Tom Brady.
Right.
Tom Brady, they give him his ticket at the beginning of the season. They know he's going.
Yeah.
Do you guys know what the star on the Dallas helmet stands for?
No.
What?
How many fans are we going to piss off?
It's a rating level.
Oh. I'll tell you what, I am not a Cowboys fan, but I loved every second of them beating down the Eagles.
I used to love when I was a kid, man. Ennis Smith, Troy Aikman, man. Catch me back when I was 6, 7 years old. I used to be a sneaker Dallas fan, man. I may have had an Ennis Smith jersey, so.
There's a picture of me somewhere wearing a Philadelphia Eagles jersey because a dog had thrown up on my actual shirt, and it was somebody else's shirt. And I wish that I could scrub that picture from existence because somebody might mistake me for an Eagles fan.
That's funny.
I put that one in just for Trey. I put Kansas City on the list after last week when they lost. All right.
Man, dude.
This one, I'm not even sure where I fall yet, so I'm going last. But underrated, overrated. Kayak tournaments.
You want me to start?
Underrated. Underrated. I do. I think they just need. I mean, I don't know. It's a hard one. That's a hard one to when we talk about something like that. It's hard to underrate or overrate it because it's if we were talking let's say an AFCO Reaper hoodie or something like a certain product. But when I think of something as broad as a kayak fishing tournament. I feel like some people don't give them the clout that they need, and how diverse and how skilled these anglers are that are doing this. Because like I think I said it last night, we can't fly up and down the lake fishing, main lake points all day. We have to literally fish what's in front of us, and it just makes you a better angler. And I think with that, but then again, I don't think that a lot of really, really, really good kayak anglers, get the respect that they deserve. And maybe that's because the money ain't there, right? It's because people are looking at the elites and looking at, big bass tournaments, big bass boat tournaments and stuff like that. I feel like it's growing though, so that's the cool thing.
Yeah, I think the money will be there for sure. Like you're already seeing these big pots, like the
Right.
Big Bass 250, the Hobie BOS.
Right.
The money will be there. People are starting to realize the value in it.
Right. Look what Joss and Troy and Gene and all these guys are doing with the All American, and how look at the pot sizes and some of them, and just the people, man. And it's not even about the money, dude. That's what's so. You talk to these bass boat guys, and it all becomes about these bro staffers and how many names you got on your boat, and
nobody's friends with anybody.
Right. The kayak community and the kayak tournaments are totally different, right? Because it does take a small niche, because you are all launching usually from different spots, and you might have 3 or 4 guys, linked up at a boat ramp, and it's just so different. So I think that it's growing. I think that in some sense it's underrated, but I think it's making more traction. And I don't really know. This is my first year, so I don't really have a lot to speak on it. I can't really speak on it, but I know that it's getting bigger. So
it's my first year too, and I don't know, man. So I fall in like 2 different places on this one. I think they're underrated. I think that the money will be there more and more. The sport's growing more and more. So like as a sport, I think kayak tournaments are underrated. The problem is, I think they're in danger. I think they could go from underrated to overrated real fast, because the more popularity we get in kayak fishing, the more we're seeing these big bass boat guys transition into kayak fishing. And the whole reason I love kayak fishing and kayak tournaments is that community and those big bass boat guys. It's nothing against bass boat guys, but they have a very different mentality and way of acting and everything versus a lot of the kayak anglers. And the more of them that flood over into kayak angling, I think it very quickly could become like bass boat, where people aren't friendly to each other and they put the competition first and screw each other over. So I'm saying underrated, and I'm hoping that it doesn't become overrated. What do you think, Christian?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think I guess that's one thing we all have in common, is we're all still pretty new. We're still pretty green in the broad world of kayak tournaments, I guess. But Trey made a good point. It's hard to. It's so broad that it's kind of hard to almost like pigeonhole that down into one like singular thing. But I'm gonna say underrated, and the biggest thing for me is because I think that it caters to a wider audience than like maybe a boat. We'll just compare it to a boat tournament. Like a kayak tournament compared to a boat tournament is vastly different. Like Trey's already said, you have to pick and choose where you're going to drop in. You can't run all over the place, to an extent. But the affordability of it was a big thing that shocked me, because I really expected, like when I got in this year, like I expected tournaments to be like $200 every time, and maybe even more than that. I didn't really know what to expect, because boat tournaments around here. I mean, my Joe Bass ones that you can get in a John boat. I think they're like $150 a ramp or whatever. We pay half that for everything. That's compared to any average boat tournament, $75 or whatever. Sometimes they're not even that, from what I understand around other places. For just a regular dude that probably can't afford to buy, we're not talking like a huge like $100,000 world class boat. We're talking just like maybe like a $20,000 or $30,000 boat that just gets them around, maybe not even that, maybe like a $15,000 boat or a $10,000 boat. Not everybody can afford to just, even if you finance it, not everybody can afford to just take that on.
Right.
Yeah,
and
it's a lot. Plus the maintenance.
You're getting to, plus the maintenance and the gas and all that other stuff that you got to throw into that, combined with paying for the boat, buying paying into the tournament, doing all this, that, and the other. And so for not near as much, when I bought my kayak, I know everything's kind of going up now, which we're probably doing that to ourselves because the popularity's
for sure
getting so much, it's exploding. But I tell you, like $700 for my kayak, it's like $1,000 kayak, but I've been $400 and I had to buy stuff used here and there, whatever. But I'm still here. I'm still here. I've won money this year. I'm enjoying it, and that's the biggest thing about it. It's enjoyable. It's enjoyable. It can be affordable. And I really like it. It's more of just an average. You don't have to be super loaded or have the nicest boat and the nicest kayak out there because, like we were talking about earlier with old boys, it's somebody that you don't expect, and they're hammered. And that's kind of the other thing. Yeah, I was gonna say the other thing that I was gonna kind of harp on was, it's gonna be tougher for sure. If you're paddling, but you can still compete in just a paddle kayak.
For sure.
There's a lot of things that you can do.
I'm going to compete out of kayaks this year for sure.
That was the biggest thing for me, because last year I was kind of intimidated because when we saw Camo on 20 when they did that trail stop on 20 last year, and everybody that I saw had like drive, or they were all in a bunch of Hobies, the ramp dropped in that, and everybody had like a motor guide or something like that, and I was just two-stroking it, just paddling my way around. And so I was like, dude, I'm like way outgunned. There's no way I've got a chance. And now that I've gone through a year, I've only done a few tournaments. I haven't even done the whole trail. I think you don't have to have $3,000 or $3,000 into this kayak to be successful. If you got a couple of rods and your knowledge. It's probably gonna suck because you're gonna have to paddle while everybody else is zipping around. But you can still be competitive.
I felt pretty
good. You can still be competitive.
Christian was going to get a motor before I was. I got the Pro Angler, and I'm like, I'm not putting a motor on it. And then I ended up having my motor up and going before Christian did, because I was watching I'd watch these videos and I'd see people using the trolling motor, and I'm like, I don't need it. And as the competitive season kept getting closer, I'm like, I don't need it. And then I was like, yeah, I need it. I'm putting the XI3 on there. Like, I'm glad I did for the spot lock. It's a game changer, but it definitely was like the pressure. Like, I could have gone out and just pedal drived it this year. And it's funny because guys would kill to have my kayak set up. And I almost can't wait to get into the other kayak that's going to be coming and go stripped down simple, because it'll be nice to have both. It'll be nice to be able to just throw the other one on the rooftop and go shallow, skinny water fishing or whatever. So
I wanted to touch on real quick before we switch off something else about, so the two people that I know, one kind of personally, we're talking about, elite guys and big time bass boat name guys coming into the kayak world. I had the opportunity. So when I was in prison, I had an old Bassmaster magazine, and I got it from the library, and I kept it in my cell. And it was like half of it. So I'd read it all the time, and I loved it. Ever since I was a kid, I remember being like 6 years old on a dock down in Grabois, and I was fishing off the dock walk, and when I turned around, for some reason, I was fishing for bluegill or something. My dad had a friend that had a houseboat down there, and we'd go down there to this place called Wolf Harbor. And I turned around, and there was this bass boat guy on the side of me. He's all decked out, like flipping the bank, flipping the docks. And I was just in awe. And I think that's where I really fell into I had this notion in my head, like, man, that would be it. And, grew up in Grabois with, Guido Hibden and Dion Hibden and, now Lawson Hibden and all these just Lake of the Ozark legends down there. But all that to say, two people, Greg DePalma, which is GDP, which will be fishing the Bassmaster Kayak Championship, which is a guy out of the East Coast, had that story about how, just the average dude that, owned a construction business on the East Coast, and he got into kayaks and is really successful in the Elite Series. And, one day, it was maybe like, I don't know, 6 or 7 months after I got out of prison, I remember it was before church, and I was waiting, and I was so I got on Facebook Messenger, and I shot him a text message, and I gave him my phone number. I said, "Hey man, I'd love to be able just to talk to you." And when I left church that day, I was driving home, my phone rang, and it was him. And I got to talk to him. Yeah, dude.
That's awesome, man.
So I got to share my story with him and tell him. And ever since then, I've kind of been a Greg DePalma fanboy in a way, and have really followed what he's done. And he was, one of them guys from the Elite Series that was just super cool. And then you think about like Mike Iaconelli and, that guy, everybody that
from New Jersey, which explains
right.
a lot. Because
and I talk to people that's met
that dude. He's like,
and I've talked to people that's met him, dude, and just say that he has a heart of gold, and he's got a huge character. So
yeah.
It's an East Coast thing.
And maybe there's some humbling when guys are going from the Elite Series and these Bass Boat tournaments, and they're going to kayak tournaments. Maybe they're getting back to the root of why they started fishing in the first place. Man, so I encourage. I want to see more elite guys and more big Bass Boat guys come to the kayak world, man. I want to see that, bro, because I think it takes you back to your roots of why you fell in love with fishing in the first place.
Yeah.
It's a very good point. I mean, I never even fished. Like, this is your first year kayak fishing. This was my first year bass fishing. Like, you guys both know that. And, like, I went out of my way to not fish for bass. I used to get out in the kayak. Like, when I moved to the Midwest, it really just became a chase for catfish because I started out kayak fishing on the ocean in New Jersey. So, like, going after big fish and, like, being towed around. And around here, like, catfish was like the obvious one to go to for a fight. And I'm surprised I didn't get hooked on bass fishing sooner, but I'm there now. Like, I'm literally going to end this year having not targeted anything but catfish. Like, the year is almost over, and that's crazy or target anything but catfish, anything but bass. Like, I have not fished for anything but bass this year. That's insane. Addicting little bastards.
One more thing. I'm going to jump off of Trey's. That kind of reminded me. It made me think of something else. That's the cool thing about kayak fishing too is kind of like a collision of worlds, if you will. Like, you got dudes like that are elite, and they're coming from. We'll just take like somebody from the Elite Series. They're coming down. They're fishing in a Hobie PA-14 with live scope and like 2 screens or 3 screens.
Of course they're in a Hobie. Underrated.
Well, anyway.
He gave me an opening. I had to. Go ahead.
They're on an Old Town AP-136 with 3 screens and live scope, and they're in a nice kayak. We'll say that. And then you've also got like just the average dude. He may not be living paycheck to paycheck or whatever, but he's just an average dude. He doesn't make a bunch of money. He's a family man. That maybe somebody kind of like myself. I don't have the super nice kayak or anything, but I've made it my own. I enjoy doing what I do. You got 2 totally opposite people. They can come together and not only get along and like hang out, talk at the ramp, be cool and be friends, but they're also competing for the same thing. And a dude who is an elite may get last place, and the dude that had to make sure he had enough money to drive to the lake. They win the freaking thing. They win the freaking thing. And you never know how it's going to turn out. I just think
and him being able to go home and tell his kids that. That's
so cool. That's so cool. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Kind of like the dudes in the beat up boat who won that tournament on the Ned rig.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever it was.
Exactly.
That's
amazing.
I love that. That was Northwood's podcast, and I love that story and I think if I remember correctly, the guy who actually caught the fish, I think he gave all the money or most of the money to his co-angler because it was like a younger kid and whatnot. Like,
they split it. I'm pretty sure.
Kid was from right here in Columbia, Mizzou basketball.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, Trey, you're like, I'm the guy with the biggest YouTube channel in this three. Well, I don't want to use the word threesome, but I already started, so we'll use it. In this threesome I'm the one with the biggest YouTube channel, but Trey is the networking machine. He knows everybody.
I don't know if that's a good thing though.
Dude, once you start your channel, it's gonna it took me. I started my channel in 2020 during the pandemic, and I hit 1,000 subscribers this year, and I really started pushing hard like halfway through last year. So I really think it's like mostly this year that got me there. But when you start yours, you'll go to 1,000 in like 6 months. Like, it's not going to take, if even that long. Your channel will take off like wildfire, man. It's going to be cool to watch.
Appreciate that.
All right, so we've been on for over an hour, so we'll wind it down soon here. But we got to talk about Trey's hunting season, man.
I'm chilling, man.
Trey's the best bird watcher I have ever met.
He had to
I'm not
do
a
that
bird.
to you,
Well,
didn't
I
he?
am a bird watcher. But what do you want to know about it? It's been fun. Like I'm blessed.
You know what? That's what I wanted to know more than anything is if you're enjoying it. Because for those of you at home that don't know, Trey has been sending us videos of him out hunting for like 3 months now, and it's been deer walking past him that any normal person would have shot 10 times over now. And Trey just watches them go by. He hasn't shot a thing. So I guess that's the real question. Are you enjoying it? Because I would be miserable right now.
I am, and I think I get a sense of satisfaction from watching these younger deer, because a lot of them are, I got the opportunity to be able to hunt some really good ground, just right out on the south side of Columbia here, down by the river, and just has potential just to have some really Missouri class deer in there. This year early on we had 3 that we were really looking at. A big 10, a really big 12, and then there's this just huge old school, really wide 9-pointer that's really cool. And so they were kind of the 3 deer that I were looking for, and I had a lot of other mid-size 8s and some smaller 10s, and just a lot of deer on this property. So what's cool about it is you can go out there and you can watch these deer, and there's a lot of activity. So I just haven't had that opportunity for, I think we got one of them left now. I think that some surrounding properties have taken the other 2, and we got, 1-9 out there. And he's an old school, he's a smart deer. Just tonight, actually, I had him in the Milo field, and I posted a video of that really nice little 8-pointer that came out, and was hoping kind of use him as a decoy, and he got out in the Milo field, but that 9-pointer just always seems to stay just far enough away until he didn't, and I know we talked about that. I'd say about a month ago, I would say it was the first weekend of gun season, because I hunt with a crossbow, so all the bow guys out there are like, well, that's not really bow hunting, but that really maybe it's not, because
if it's an arrow, it's bow hunting.
Well, I mean, these things shoot like a rifle anymore, but still, I can't. I'm a felon, so I can't have a gun. But I love crossbow hunting. Last year, I took my 2 deer with it. So I had him come in this 9, so I actually got to see him up front. I mean, he's huge, maybe close to maybe 25-inch spread on him. I don't know. I hate them guys that say, well, that's a 170-inch deer, and they're scoring it off the trail cam.
A
lot of people are pretty good, and they've been. A lot of people are good, and they can do that. But, I was watching this deer when he was in velvet, and we just knew he was a really big deer. And so he did come in, I think it was the first weekend of gun season, chasing a doe, and he chased her right underneath my stand, right back underneath my stand. He chased her about 60 yards out and come right back. And every time, dude, I'm like, meh, 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 meh. Stomping and everything, and this dude just did not care about me. He wasn't stopping, and eventually he got in the Milo field and just chased her out. I mean, I could have straight Ted Nugent in this dude and like jumped on his back. I could have probably touched him with an arrow. Right, I could have touched him with an arrow, but it wasn't the shot I wanted to take, and I felt like maybe in the second rut or early middle of December I'll be able to get maybe a little better shot on him when he gets a little hungry. We got some good food plots out there we can sit on, so I'm still hunting, man, and yeah, we got some does to get rid of, but like I said, my freezer's still full. I got 2 really cool deer last year. I got a really cool 5-pointer. So he was 4 on one side, and he had 1. He looked like Elliot off Open Season. That's what we called him, Elliot. He's a really cool deer. Yeah, it's cartoon. Yeah. And then I got a really nice, really old 10-pointer last year that was really good. So yeah, man. But then and I questioned myself last year. I was like, I put a bad shot on a doe last year, and the arrow was just filled with bile. It just had bile all over it, and I felt horrible, man. I couldn't find her, looked for her forever, and didn't have the access to a dog in the right time, and I went home that night. I remember calling a friend and talking about it, and really was contemplating why I was out there. Like, do I really want to kill an animal? Or was it just kind of like maybe ancestral peer pressure, right? Because my dad hunted, or my grandpa hunted, and my uncles hunted, and I hunted as a kid. But man, and still I struggle with that to this day. Do I feel like do I like hunting, and do I just hunt for horns? No, I love deer meat. I just had deer tonight when I got home. But I'm definitely not just out there to kill stuff. I see these people posting pictures of like bobcats, and so I can't even shoot a coyote because I feel like I'm killing a dog.
Yeah, I don't have a problem shooting the coyotes, but the bobcats.
I can't do it, man. I pull up and I watch them when they're coming by, the coyotes, and we don't have a lot of coyotes, which is surprisingly this year. I think the neighbor did a good job, but man, to me it just feels like I got a dog in the glass, and I can't pull the trigger on it, even though I know they wreck hell on a turkey population and a deer population.
But hopefully I ate a coyote. I don't know, when they were in, I think it was Mexico. I don't know if I can get down with that. And I remember them even talking about it. They're like, it just feels wrong. It just feels weird. Like, I remember Steve Rennell eating a monkey too, and he was like, this also feels wrong. But
But then again, another thing is that I thought about that because I know you asked me about that before, and I said, and maybe it's because I don't want the season to end, right? Because I'm able to get off work and flex my time a little bit, so I can get off later in the afternoon and go sit in my tree stand. And can I do that without my bow? Of course, but every time I leave the woods and knowing that I didn't take a shot, I just know that it gives me something to go back to. So maybe there is a sense of enjoyment when that 9 don't come through, because I know that next weekend or next Tuesday. So it always kind of gives me something to look forward to. So maybe that's a little bit of it.
You take a joy in hunting that I wish I had. Like, I strictly just want to put meat in the freezer. Like, I look at it as an opportunity to spend less money on groceries. And I love the time that I'm sitting out there in the woods. But my God, when one steps out and I shoot it, I get sad for a second, like the whole killing part of it. And I have like
and this is coming from the guy that has a Hobie, and he also has a Keurig machine in his hunting blind. So
there's no Keurig in there, not yet. There will be next year.
Not yet. Oh.
When I put in the hunting castle, as it were, but like I like to be comfortable. And then once I shoot one, I get sad, and then I get mad at it because now I have to gut it, and I absolutely despise that process. And then I just get happy that I get to go home. And then I get annoyed because I butcher it myself, but I get annoyed that I have to do that. So I'm happy when I shoot it, and I'm happy when I eat it. Everything else in between feels like a burden, and I just want to go back to fishing.
I like that.
There is one more thing I want to talk about while we're all here. Is anybody else starting to get entirely too excited about April 6th and the first event at Lake of the Ozarks?
Better known as Lake of the Ocean.
Yeah. So for everybody listening, our first event of the year that we'll all be at, probably, is Lake of the Ozarks for Moyak and the All-American Kayak Series on April 6th. And it's like almost 2 weeks before Christmas, and I can't stop thinking about the first event.
And I think we're all going to be together, right?
I think so.
And then with maybe him, he's like, yeah, give me some screen time.
Yeah, listen on the podcast forum needs to go watch the video because you're missing out on Henry.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, man. I think that hopefully it's fishing really good then. And that's not it. So I got one tournament before them, but we don't got to talk about that because I still don't want to talk about it. But yeah, Lake of the Ozarks, man. I can't wait. I can't wait just to hang out with you guys down there. For real.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be fun. It'll be a good time.
One of my supervisors at work, Mike, I guarantee he's watching this. What's up, Mike? He's like my biggest fan. But he watched my highlight video that I put out last week, like the 2023 highlight. And he said his favorite part of the whole thing was when I filmed me and Christian in the camp at Truman, where the camera was running and we were just BSing. And I was like,
BSing. Yeah.
Like, we were just hanging out and we
I was just
almost didn't even
retying
film
stuff.
that part. And he's
Yeah.
like, you know, you hit him with that question, like, what's your number one goal? He's like, and he said it, and you just took a pause, and you're like, yours is better than mine. He's like, and I was dying. So this studio obviously is remote. Christian and Trey aren't here with me. But when we go down there, I'll have the Roadmaster. I'll have the whole portable setup. So we'll actually be able to record podcasts there if we want to, which would be super cool. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to the hanging out part. Like, I don't know how I'll place in that. I expect that I won't place anything decent or be in the money, but I get to go fishing with my buddies, and it won't be like brutally cold, just like sort of cold. I don't know what the weather's like down there in April.
And I think the Nico Jedi, that's what I call him now. He's probably tired of it. Himself will probably be there. You know, Marty Hughes from up in Nebraska. So, you know, he's another hammer that'll be fishing that. And yeah, it's going to be stacked, dude. It's going to be fun. We'll be able to double dip it with Moyak and the All-American. So, and it's a cool lake, dude. So
I'm not going to lie. The only reason that I want to fish the All-American is I'm hoping to place decent in at least one of them for like my own benefit, like brand recognition. You know what I mean? Like, it's exposure, because it's all hammers in that group. Like, my name, I'm not gonna lie, does not belong among the list of anglers that are in the AAKS. So if I can place in one of those, that will be like, I will consider that a fulfilled goal for 2024.
Right.
Because my goal coming into this year was I just wanted a top 10 finish in camo. Because at the time I was only registered into camo, and Christian and I had never fished any of these bass kayak fishing tournaments before. And so I was like, if I can place in the top 10 of an online or an in-person, like, that would be a huge win. And then I placed in the top 10 several times. I placed in the top 3 once, at least once. And the 1 month, I took a top 3 finish in camo and Moyak and took the big bass in both. So, like, I demolished my goals for 2023, and yeah, that was a good payday. But I was shocked by that payday because it was online. But yeah, I met my goals for 23, but I think that'd be my goal for 24 to have a top 5 in the AAKS. And I want to fish that. What are they calling that thing, Christian, that Drew Gregory's doing?
Kayak Adventure Series.
Yeah.
I believe it's down in Poplar Bluff.
Yep, Poplar Bluff. I want to do that.
I don't really know the premise of it. I don't know if they've come out with a ton of stuff, like information on it yet.
Not really.
I know. My guess is they're probably going to have more than one event for it, because I know there's a river down there somewhere or near there, and then I want to say like Wapapello or something down there by Poplar Bluff as well.
Yeah.
And they mentioned Wapapello, and they mentioned like river. So I don't know. They like the mantra, like the motto for this tour is choose your own adventure.
Yeah,
I believe, and it says that on there. So I don't know if it's like you. I'm kind of wondering if it's going to be like a Battle of Brookfield thing,
right?
Where you get to pick, and it's just in this radius around this area, and you have to stay within that.
Yeah, he talked about
where
some
you can just lay.
He talked about some on Alex Rudd, and like the way I remember it. So, like, Trey, are you familiar with Drew Gregory?
Yeah.
So his whole like claim to fame is that guy went and won the Hobie BOS in a paddle kayak, like doing his own thing, and he just loves to get into that, like the areas that other people can't get into. And I've heard him talk a bunch about, like, you know, tournament boundaries really limit you and stuff like that. So I think that the whole premise with this one is they give you a radius, and if you're fishing within that radius, you're golden. It's like good thing, almost like an Iron Man or something. And
that's cool.
And you guys already know the kayak I've got coming that I haven't told people about yet. So that is like made for this kind of event, and I definitely want to do that one. That one's going to be cool. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'm going to keep a close eye on it. If I can get down there, I think I might try it. It seems like it's going to be pretty big. I think that's as far over as they go. I think everything else is pretty much East Coast and South.
Yeah.
So I would assume this entire area is probably going to look at that. So I'm sure they will limit it.
Yeah,
I'm sure they will.
It might be actually hard to get a spot in it if they limit it too much, because it's going to be a big one. Like, Boy, boy, there's gonna be some names in that one.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with that area, so I can't remember what river. I think there's more than one river down there. I mean, they talked about even like the Mississippi, and I don't know how close that is to like Poplar Bluff area.
I'm not sure.
I don't know how. I'm not familiar with that area of Missouri, so I don't know. But people were talking about river, and then of course Wapafello and all that stuff too. So it seems like they're trying to do something different.
It's going to be an interesting year.
Standard, so.
Like even the camo schedule for this year is pretty interesting. It didn't look like what I expected it to look like at all, and between the camo, the Moyak, the AAKS, it's going to be a good year.
Yeah,
it's going to be a real good year.
Yeah, I mean, to harp on LOZ again, I'm stoked. I've never fished it before. I've been there, but I've never fished it, so I need to get down there and get the feel for it at least. If I don't even fish it, just kind of get down there and
I've said this
run around
before,
and
watching you fish. It's. I mean, I'm confident that you're gonna. That it fishes right into your strengths. So I'm excited to see you, Christian, fish Lake the Ozarks. Maybe not your first time, but I think that it's going to be a lake that you're going to be able to really do some damage on, if not this time, in the future.
I definitely need to get down there before April.
I like hearing that, dude. And I appreciate it.
My style of fishing is not going to go well with Lake of the Ozarks.
I think it will. I think both of you are kind of powered. Yeah, I think, yeah. So, yeah.
Beat him over the head.
I think Christian looks better doing it.
Well, like Steve Lehman said, the man looks like a model.
I didn't ask for this power.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking for like over an hour, so I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit subscribe. Definitely go check out Recovery Outdoors. I'll put a link to that down in the description below. That's Trey's project. That's going to blow up a lot in 2024. It's going to be fun to watch. And we're going to get Christian set up with some kind of YouTube or something. And we're going to start pushing him too. We're just
one of these days, man.
We're going to be like the three Musketeers of kayak fishing.
Yeah.
Like John Bailey and his disciples.
YouTube kayak fishing bros.
Yeah.
We all need some jorts.
The log.
Yeah.
Dude,
get you some jorts, boy.
His jorts are like a denim thong. Like
I'll bust them out. I'll bust them out this year. Don't worry.
The jorts are something else. There's something for you guys to look forward to in the future. So don't forget to hit subscribe. Check out Trey at Recovery Outdoors, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.